Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk each week about the digital world and how loud and crowded it is and how much help you need to continue to communicate with your current clients and find new clients. So you need the professionals like the folks at Oak City Tech to do that. You go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 33 chapters and over 520 members meet, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our small business success story this week is Andrew Bodane, who is he's a partner at B2B CFO. Andrew is in RD27, Bull City Business Leaders. It's the big bad daddy in Triangle BNI. They meet Thursday mornings at 11:15. Right now, they are on Zoom. So if you're in the Durham area and want to meet some killer small business owners and networkers and connectors, that's a group to be. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me today. Glad to be here.
Oh, happy to have you here. And let's talk some kind of overview stuff about what you guys do because we've not had your world on the show yet because you deal with larger companies and it's financial, your background, a lot of financial in your background. We'll get to that. But B2B CFO is what?
So B2B CFO is the largest practicing CFO consulting firm in the nation. We have over 200 partners all across the country. It's a collection of senior financial executives that help work with businesses at different stages of their development to grow and meet their financial goals through business processes, helping them get cash, helping them strategically plan, understand their business, and move it forward to get away from the hurdles and the gaps that all growing businesses encounter.
And you've been with them for 3 years, but you have a history of finances and administration and everything like that at that level. What's your favorite time to enter into discussions with a company?
So my background is not with startups, although I've helped a few because I've, can help them with their strategic planning and their business plan per se. But once the business gets a little bit of complexity, which could be at any time along the path, but a million or more in sales, it starts to become more complex and more difficult for the entrepreneur to get their hands around, to continue to stay in their zone of genius because the business is really sucking them into the day-to-day running of the business. And so it happens at all phases, whether you're a young, small business or a maturing business that's trying to break through 50 million in sales. Somewhere along the line, the business processes you have and the talent and resources that you have that worked to that point no longer support the new business and the new demands. And so I help businesses of all sizes recognize the trap that they're falling into, why they've stuttered and stalled, and what they need to do to re-energize the company by recognizing what kind of internal business structures they should have, what kind of staffing and organization they should have, what kind of repeatable, scalable business processes, what kind of cash they're going to need. And probably the one exercise I do with all businesses is a high-level strategic planning exercise. And when we're done, there's a financial model that represents the path to achieve their longer-term goals, but focuses on the next 12 to 18 months. And what that does for the business owner is it grounds them in knowing where the business is. Suddenly, when they look at their monthly financials, they're not just looking at abstract numbers, they're comparing it to a plan. And they can say to themselves, I'm ahead, life is good, I can accelerate the purchase of those trucks and the implementation of that growth. Or I'm behind, and that means I either have to delay what I'm doing, cut my expenses, or re-energize my selling exercises to get back on track. But the bottom line is they know where they are in relationship to their plan. And in the end, they're more grounded, they can sleep better, and they can plot a path to their future because they know where they're starting and they know where they're going.
And
And I've done that with company. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
two things jump out at that. One is the goal setting, but let's go back for a second. And I've obviously in BNI, we meet not all sizes of businesses. Most of them are smaller businesses, but there are enough people that work with bigger companies. And I'm amazed at the number of people that aren't, I don't want to say they don't know their numbers, but they're just not aware of what they are or dialed into them as much as they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your expertise may be in sales. Your expertise may be in product development. That doesn't mean you're an expert in finance
Mhm.
and accounting. And there's no reason for you to be. To be an effective C level, to work in that C suite, that chief suite, the one skill that's essential is to recognize what you don't know and take advantage of the talent around you to help drive those things, to help drive that area. Know enough to help be able to make decisions, but know when you need help and resources. And I think it's a little bit of it's definitely a misconception, and one that I've had to work on hard with Bull City, that I only work with more substantial sized businesses. I have a nice handful of clients that are as small as 200 in sales, 250,000 in sales, because these are business owners that have ambition, that have a vision to grow, and really don't know how to build the infrastructure. So I've created that real high level strategic plan. And when we go through it in a series of 1 hour meetings, I find that it's fun for both of us. I find that the business owners know their business. They understand what's going on. But what they don't know or have time for is to sit down and work on their business and think about their business in a strategic manner. And I do know how to ask the right questions and how to drive that conversation. And so they take the time to sit with me. And when we're done, as I talked about earlier, they end up with a financial plan to help guide them. A great story is I was doing a one-to-one with one of my colleagues at Bull City. He has a wonderful kitchen renovation business, countertops, counters, cabinets. And I went to see his storefront, which was beautiful. And he said to me, the space next door is coming open, and I just can't decide whether to buy it, whether to rent it, whether to add it. So I said, well, where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Do you want to run a business where you've got people working for you and you're managing people? Or do you like the hands-on experience? What kind of work-life balance do you want to have? If you can set those goals out, then you can and know what you want to accomplish, then that decision, do I add space, becomes a lot easier to make because there's context to make. It's the when we don't have a context for a decision, when we can't fit it into a plan because we haven't stopped to make a plan, that decisions are much, much harder. So that's the grounding influence of having a strategic and financial roadmap. Decisions become easier. Is it on my path, or is it a nice idea but a rabbit hole, and that's not a direction I want to go in? It's transformational,
Yep.
and
And
I've gotten some wonderful feedback.
I'm with you. I enjoy working with a client with a vision. They may not have the details connected yet, but they are motivated and they are focused.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with these folks. It small business, they're sharp as heck. These
Mm.
people, and they know their business, and it's just a matter of helping them kind of get organized.
Right.
Uh,
So we are, what is it, December 13th, I think it is. We would say most business owners don't have their 2022 goals, let's just say finalized. Let's assume they've started it, they've even looked at it or written 3 things down. What are some things, well, let me go back before we talk about the goals. What have you seen with COVID over the last 2 years with your business?
well, in some ways, people are reaching out for more help because
Mhm.
the more challenge it is, the more pain they're in. I find I get new clients for two reasons. One, the owner has a lot of foresight and they recognize that to meet their goals, they need change, they need new resources, and they're actively looking for it. And the other is they're in a lot of pain
Mm.
because things aren't going right, and that drives them to want to change. And somebody connects them with different resources, and hopefully they connect them with me, and it works. There's an opportunity for me to help create value for them and move the file. So COVID has created a lot of challenges, and so it's been a little bit of a unfortunate opportunity for my segment of the business. It took a lot of time when it first came out, just helping, just publishing information in my newsletters, just talking to people that were stressing and giving them some guidance, knowing that doing the right thing is always the right thing and that the universe repays, what comes around goes around, and, paying it forward and all that. And that was very satisfying because there were a lot of people that were really in trouble.
Yeah.
Their livelihoods, their businesses were in trouble, and to give them some grounding and to give them some advice was a very rewarding period of time.
So looking back at the last 2 years with COVID related business during COVID, and I quit guessing about 10 months ago where the hell we are on this because I just don't know. I was wrong when we started. When BNI originally went to Zoom,
Mhm.
6 weeks, 8 weeks, they'll figure it out. So I've quit guessing after that.
Yep,
How do
yep.
we use that information to factor in our 2022 goals?
I think that the most, the key disruptors have been the supply chain,
Mm,
and during the lockdown, the demand chain,
yeah.
if you will, the consumers. Nobody seems inclined or feel that the lockdown is necessary. So that's a variable that's off the table, and consumer demand is strong. So then I think it's just a question now of one of the newer threats, and the newer threats, well, is not new. The continued supply disruption is something you have to take into consideration in your own business, or if you're thinking about entering into a business. And inflation
Yeah.
is probably going to be the newest challenge, which many people in business haven't dealt with. My gray beard goes back long enough where I remember when crime was 18%.
Oh, yeah.
And that can put you out of business if you're paying 20%
Yeah.
interest and never touching your principal.
I believe
Um,
I voted in that election as well.
yeah, yeah. Gray beard club. Absolutely. And that's critical experience. So, a lot of people are going to have to relearn it and,
Yep.
pay attention to their costs, pay attention to their prices. Hopefully they have some price elasticity and their products really in demand. Because if you get upside down, if you're not paying attention to your costs,
Yep.
you can quickly start working harder and losing more money.
And that goes back to knowing your numbers
Yeah,
and knowing
yeah.
what's making the phone ring, where business is coming from, being up to speed with it. Like, who thought that outside the port of LA there would be hundreds of ships sitting there and you can't get the product off of there? I mean, nobody, I don't know, I won't say nobody saw that coming, but certainly nobody factored that in back in June.
No, no. And I definitely have clients that were impacted. I have a manufacturing client that I'm actually at today, right now, who had very real disruptions and very real times of the year when their plant was down. They just couldn't produce because they couldn't get
Yeah.
the materials that they need, which come from China. So it was still a good year for them, a decent year. But boy, opportunities lost, no doubt about it. Yeah.
And I'm curious to see, and I do not want to get into the politics on this, but I'm curious to see from a small business standpoint what we learned, because a lot of businesses through COVID have learned, oh, well, like, and I go back to the restaurants who never did takeout or delivery. All of a sudden, hey, if we want to stay open, we better start delivering. So that's part of their business model now. So businesses like that that have and I'm over the word pivoted. So those businesses that have adjusted and
Mhm.
created and, looked at that way. I'm curious to know how this supply chain issue will will show up in 2022 or 2023 ordering, uh, creating new businesses domestically in any country and start building more products locally. I'm curious to see in the next 18 months what effect that'll have on small business.
Yeah, and, I can't predict, but to be flexible, like if you're a restaurant with your menu, is one way to cope with it, so if you can't get chicken wings, then
Yep.
alright, check out the recipes, there's a lot of them online, and make something else, be ready to be ready to change, don't any business, even before all this, but, all this really highlights it. You really need to foster a culture of change. The pace of society is so fast that if you're not evolving, if you're doing business the way you did it yesterday, chances are your competition is way ahead.
Yep.
So, don't wait until you're in so much pain that it forces you to change, which is human nature. We're all that way.
Yep.
Just constantly challenge the status quo. If you ever find yourself saying this is the way we do it, then maybe you need to do it a different challenge that one right
Yeah.
there.
And
Start with that
yeah,
one.
and you and I have worked in enough businesses to combine to know that, or at least I don't know if I speak for you on this, but one of the phrases I hate in business is, "Oh, we've always done it that way."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
What
God,
a what a bad reason to continue to do it that
a
way.
recipe for disaster. And you try to
Yeah,
convince them that it doesn't work, and they're like, "No, no, no, it's worked for us in the past. It's working fine." Well, and
yeah,
what does that mean?
yeah. Are you where you could be or where you should be? And what happens
Yeah.
the next time there's a heavy bump in the road?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Are you gonna be able to adjust if
Yep.
you're that stuck? Yeah, we want scalable business processes, whatever that means. It indicates a word of that it expands and contracts and, just scales with your changes. You just gotta have a culture that champions change.
Yep. We are here with Andrew Bodane, partner at B2B CFO, also member of RD27, Bull City Business Leaders. They meet Thursday mornings at 11:15 right now on Zoom. When they're in person, it is in Durham somewhere. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, again, tell you last week, I'll probably tell you next week is somebody could take your Facebook page away, your YouTube channel away, all that stuff because you don't own it, but things like your email list, newsletters, opportunities to talk to people like that exist, and you can control that. Professionals at oakcitytech.com can help you uh, further communicate better with current and future clients, do it more professional way, something you can control. So go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. All right, Andrew, we're making our 2022 household budgets. So, what business thoughts do we give to making sure we are solvent in our household?
You mean literally the household or business?
Literally, literally our household. Can we treat it like a business P&L? Should we have a household P&L?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I speak to financial advisors and we kind of articulate what our business models are. And really, as a CFO, I'm sort of the financial advisors for
Mm,
business, just like your personal financial advisor is a financial advisor for your personal side of your business. And so the same rules apply. You need to set goals. Who do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to retire? Covey says start with the end in mind. So start with that. What's it look like when you retire? And how do you get what kind of lifestyle, quality of life do you have? And what do you think you're going to need? So and then, of course, every year, once you have a long term plan, it's the same process. Once you have that, you know what your business wants to look like in 10 or 20 years. What's the next 12 months got to look like and to keep you on to get you on that path. Same for your home. I'm maximizing my retirement savings or saving at a rate that the plan says I should be saving.
yep.
All that. It's the same principles.
And you should know how much your electric bill is, your water bill is. So again, there's no surprises each month. So when you budget,
Right.
hey, we're bringing in, let's just pick $5,000 a month. Here are our expenses. We've got a little play money. But maybe this month we don't because something's come due. But I wish more people would set a budget for their house as well.
Yeah, and it's the same context it provides the same context. So if suddenly you want to get 3 new streaming services,
Mhm.
you could say, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't have an extra X a month for that. I guess I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I have context.
Yeah.
I have a reference point. I'm grounded."
And I always go to Starbucks and again, great business model, wonderful story, but I'm amazed at the people that spend $5 a day there. Just
Yeah, think about
oh yeah. Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you add it up and say, "Is coffee worth that much to you?" You go, "Hey,
I
can't be
know
bad."
that if I did it 3 days a week instead of 5, I could get 2 of those streaming services.
There you go. Exactly.
Right.
Context.
Yep. So you are a distinguished graduate of Binghamton University. You have
Yes.
a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in accounting. Where else were you looking at going to college?
Well, I started my college career at Clark University, which is the smallest university in the nation in Worcester. That's how they say it, Worcester, Mass. I think we had 1,600 undergraduates, and I was primarily there because it was a psych school, and uh, didn't work out. It was too crazy. The persona on campus was who could be the weirdest, and, and after about 3 semesters, my folks were supportive in letting me, take a little break and do some traveling, which I did all over Greece, and sleeping on beaches, and we'll never forget those memories. It definitely echoes back to today. It helps me know how to relax because that was the time when there really wasn't here. What a unique moment. So that school was a lot of fun, but it wasn't right for me. And when I came back from traveling, um, I had been accepted to Binghamton. There's a funny story there. Don't know whether I should tell it or not. Well, I'll tell.
I believe the
It's
statute
endearing.
of limitations is up, so
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's endearing. It's endearing. So there I am traveling with my college girlfriend, and we come back and we want to stay together. Things are good. And so we got some crazy plan about going across Canada or something. And my mother says, "Why don't you go to Binghamton? You've been accepted." So she applied for me while I was away. So we went, "That's a good idea." And so my mom got me back on track. That's what you need. You need solid, well grounded parents that know what's best for you sometimes and the wisdom of when to listen.
No.
And so I ended up at Binghamton. I had gotten into the School of Business. I took my first accounting class. I said, "Oh, this is cool." I didn't even know what accounting was. I like numbers. I've always been good at algebra. Um, and that, you learn in retrospect that you make major decisions sometimes in life that set up a series of dominoes that lead you to one day to be a graybeard and a CFO. Um, and you didn't recognize the implications of the decision you were making when you were 20, 21.
That
It's
and
pretty
I agree
interesting.
with you on that. I feel like a lot of incoming freshmen are pressured to pick a major, and I've always believed something finds you, like your class did, and others
Yeah.
tell the same type of stories. I met this person or this professor, or on a hunch took a I of like a friend of mine had a class, and they said, "Here, you need to go to that," and all of a sudden I loved it. Was there finance in the family background before you decided on accounting?
No, no, my father was an entrepreneur. His father was an entrepreneur, a small business entrepreneur. My father had a liquor store and dry cleaning chain. Um,
Wow.
no, I knew he had an accountant, but didn't really know what they did. So it was really, yeah. I thought I was going back to school to do pre-med or maybe a physical therapy. But I was in the School of Business, so I took a business class, and so a little bit of serendipity. Um, but it really works. I mean, I really enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the problem solving and the people side of it and the business process side of it. I really do, and I got to test that when I left corporate to do this consulting gig because I could have done anything I wanted. I was looking at franchises. That's 3 years ago. I wanted to change. and came back around to what I've always done and what I have a good skill set to do and enjoy. And that's how I got where into B2B CFO and consulting as a fractional CFO.
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Uh, Andrew, can you just tilt your monitor towards you so you're
There you go.
okay? Sit back now. Yeah, that's better.
We need more face in the shot, so now it's even a better show. So numbers will spike right here. So, all
There we
right. So
go.
one of the things I like to do when people go to schools that I'm not familiar with, and I've heard of Binghamton, just not familiar with it, I like to look at distinguished alums, and I believe your appearance on this show will elevate you if you're not already there to that level. So one of the Baldwin brothers, I can't pick out William, but one of the Baldwin brothers. So again, better or worse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jenna Wolf, who I watch on FS1. She's a host of a
Great.
sports talk show I like. Carl Ravitch from ESPN. I think a lot of sports fans are familiar. But there's a lady named Stephanie Courtney, and I wonder who knows that. You will know her as Flo from Progressive.
Oh, no kidding. All right. That's great. That's great.
And this is what I love about this country, man. Right place, right time, and look at her career.
Unbelievable.
She got that. Yeah, she's a comedian by trade and does
Right.
a lot of these troops, comedy troops and stuff. But man, right place, right time. And what are we going on 4 years for her? It seems like, and
Yeah, if she's been careful, she's probably good,
I get
you know?
I guess it works. And East Meadow High School.
Mhm.
Again, you went. I'm assuming you went. Did you go 4 years there or three back in the day?
No, 3, that's
Yeah,
right.
ours
Yeah,
were three here
3
too.
years,
So
3-year middle school or
yep,
junior high, we called it.
yep,
3-year high school.
yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Two other distinguished alums along with you. All right. Chris Angel, the
Mhm.
magician, and one of my favorite baseball players back in the day, Frank Viola,
Wow.
played with the Twins. So
Nice.
a lot of good people
Yeah,
coming out of
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
No surprise you're as successful as you are, Andrew. No surprise. So
It really is one of the big university centers, and it's a good school.
give me one
It
of your
was really a
favorite
great opportunity.
give me one of your favorite high school stories.
High school story.
Yeah. Somebody, a team you played
Yeah,
on, somebody you
I
met.
got it. I
Yep.
got it. This was during a transitionary period. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's probably my most infamous moment. Um, but I did play some basketball, and early on, I was pretty good. Some athletes are fast and have incredible hand-eye coordination. Uh, I just had tallness. So early on, when I was much bigger than everyone, I was pretty good, and then everybody kind of caught up with me. Then sadly, and this I don't know, this is just sadly, one Christmas our basketball team was playing one of the best teams in the county, and I forgot to show up.
Oh,
The game was going to be televised. It was a big deal. I was being a kid and I was out playing. And when I realized that I had missed it, when I got back to school, I folded up my uniform. I went to the coach and I said, "It's not my first interest. I apologize, but clearly something's missing and I need to move on."
uh,
And he
yeah.
was fine with that.
Did they win the game without you?
No, they had like a guy that was 6'10", and our biggest guy was like 6'2", and then there was me,
Okay.
almost 6'2". But yeah, that was a grow up moment.
What'd your folks say about that?
My folks were very laissez-faire. They supported my recognition that I didn't do the right thing, and I owed better. I mean, you could argue, well, that's quitting, but yeah, I wasn't serving them. There were other people that deserved the time more than I was giving
Yeah.
and the attention. Yeah.
Was that a
So
big high
they were
school?
supportive. It was. Yeah. Yeah. We had like 3,000 kids. So in
Oh
each
my.
3 grades, 1,000 in each grade. Yeah, it was plenty of people that wanted that spot. And they deserved it.
Very good. One of my favorite questions to ask for guests that are married. Your wife's name is Carrie. How did you 2 meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
Um, Similarly, but the perspective was very. So
Yes.
the way we met was that I was controller for a silicon sand mining company, and we had a softball team, and it was co-ed. And one of the women that worked in my department was getting my wife to come to the game. She was a good athlete, but to meet me because I was very single and very eligible, apparently, because I was controller at a young age. Um, and because of my job, I traveled, so I couldn't get to every game. But I definitely got to the point where I was attracted to this woman, and I wanted to ask her out. And after the game, one of the games, there's a bunch of us sitting around in a pizza parlor, and next to me is the guy who was one of the VPs. I'll keep it there, and he is dominating her attention. I mean, he's hitting on her really hard, and I was like, "This guy's married. He's a big." And I'm not that guy, you know what I mean? Gift the gab with the ladies. That's not. I'm a grounded, easygoing guy. But as the evening went on, he finally took a breath, and I just leaned across the table and I said, "Hey, would you like to go out for dinner on Friday night?" So there
Oh.
was no prelude. There was no soft small talk because I couldn't get a word in against this guy. And she looked at him and she looked at me and she said, "Absolutely." And that's how it started. It
And where was the first date?
was a nice restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut. She didn't want me to pick her up. She wanted that distance.
Yep.
So she met me there and said, "Meet me at the bar." And I was sitting at the bar and I turn as she comes in and she comes striding up. And for some reason to this day, I don't understand. She turns her purse upside down and dumps everything on the floor. It was just some fumble, some nervousness, but it literally looked like she just dumped it on the floor. So that was her great big moment. But at the end of the night, I kissed her goodnight before she went in her car, and she told me to this day that that nailed it. That sealed the deal.
Oh,
And we were engaged 3 months later.
wow.
Yeah.
Alright.
And we've been together ever since. And we're still best friends. And we're still, you know, it's a good marriage,
Now
good partners.
her version of the, conversations at the table, how does she kinda tell that?
Well, it's not that different. You know, the look that I saw is her perspective. When she looked at him and said, this fool, you know, leave me alone. And she looked at me, and it wasn't even a decision that, it was almost a decision that anything to get away from this guy. You know what I mean? So that's kind of her story, but
I
it
thought
worked
your
out pretty
lean-in
well.
question to her was gonna be, "Have you met his wife?"
Yeah, that would have been great. She's really lovely.
Oh, you'd love her. You 2 would be best friends real quick. I'd imagine that probably would have gotten you into some trouble at work the next day though, right?
He was a VP. I was only the controller. It couldn't have been good.
Uh,
Real life stuff.
yep. Now how long have you 2 been married?
36 years.
Oh, you're one ahead of me, alright. I love it.
Mm,
You wanna be you feel like you wanna meet that one person and be married forever, but you have no idea how long forever is because you look at the
right.
number. Because 'cause we've been married 35 years, you're like, "Wow," and then you realize it goes by like that.
Yeah,
With
that's
kids,
that's the
yeah,
message
yep,
to everyone
yep.
who's younger.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, that old adage, smell the rose, smell the flowers. That's what it's about. Life,
yeah,
time is existential. I don't even know what time is
yeah.
anymore.
I still don't know. I know the calendar supports it, but I still don't know how I got to the age of 60 this quick. It's like, "Hang on a second. I
Yeah,
was
you just
thir
woke up one day.
I was 28 the other day, I swear. Now my back and
Um,
my knee don't agree, but my mind does.
yeah, okay, we're on the
Yep.
same team.
Yep,
We're
yep.
on the same schedule.
So you have 2 girls, I have 2 boys. I always love asking
Mm.
dads with daughters. Of course, yours are grown, but when they're younger, it's like, "Don't worry about saving for college, dude. You better save for the weddings."
Yeah, yeah, or both. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure being a parent. There's a lot of responsibility, no doubt about it.
But
Absolutely.
you and I, though, are in the greatest club in the world. We're both grandparents. So mine
Yeah.
is, what, 3 years, 4 months, and 16 days. How old is yours?
Nice. 1 year on the 15th in 2 days.
Oh, and you just got back, boy or girl?
Girl.
Okay. Oh, girls everywhere. Nice.
Everywhere. Both of
And
my brothers have 2 girls.
yep.
My first cousin is 2 girls. This whole generation has been girls. My
And
generation was all boys.
yeah, my dad had a brother. My mom was an only child, but my dad had a brother, and between the 2 of them, they had 6 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Keep on trying.
yeah. Now you just got back from Denver seeing your granddaughter?
Seeing my younger daughter,
Okay.
who is engaged, and they're getting married in April.
Oh, cool.
And they bought a house together about a year ago, which was the first time we'd seen it. So we went there and visited. The house is wonderful. They're wonderful. We did some wedding planning. We had a great lunch, meal tasting at the venue. That was a lot of fun, and did some hiking up in the mountains. And it was just a great week, just to reconnect.
It's easier to have sons, because you're on the hook for the rehearsal dinner, you know,
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
1/10
Big
of what the
deal.
wedding is.
Big deal. Whose idea was this anyway?
Yeah, so I'm not complaining. I don't if the rehearsal dinner runs $3,500, I'm not saying a word because I
No.
know both of my sons' fathers-in-law have paid way more than I did. So,
Right, right, right. And yeah. You got it made. Absolutely. I think we need to have some sort of social movement to kind of rectify the situation. You know.
yes, for I think that charge will be led by fathers of the bride.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, your oldest daughter is married, and she has the
Yeah.
granddaughter, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what kind of feelings did you have? Did you walk her down the aisle?
Yes.
So, what was
Yeah.
that like?
It's kind of magical. Honestly, having children was a wonderful experience where I realized and learned through the experience that this is really why we're here.
Yep.
This is it. I mean, to nourish, protect as men, to kind of push them out there, let them skin their knee a little bit as women, to nurture them and protect them, and try to get a good balance and a little bit of both of those from both parents as well, no doubt. But being a dad is really who I am, and then a husband, and then a CFO.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But walking her down the aisle, what was that like?
It was magical. She was ready for life. And she picked a nice guy and told
Good.
me she was ready for life. And, you know, just, yeah, it was just very rewarding. It was just so happy to see her. And they're so happy now as parents. It's just magical.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's it. Obviously, I knew how biology works, so I knew how my grandson came to me, but it didn't dawn on me how special being a grandparent was until one day and I've saw it a number of times, but it dawned on me, my kid with his kid. And that's when it's like, oh, I get the whole package because not only do I get the grandkid, but I get the joy of seeing my kid with his kid. And that's when it really took off about how much fun for
Nice.
me it is to be a grandparent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the fulfillment of what you did all those years with raising them,
Yes.
making them strong, independent people.
Yeah.
No doubt about
Yeah. And listen to them complain about being parents. It's like, look, dude, deaf ears here.
it.
Been there, done that.
This kid is so much better than either of my kids. As babies, my kids were colic. It was like,
Oh,
bad.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Both of
Oh,
them. Woo.
we got
But
lucky with that. Yeah, we
yeah,
did.
this little girl is just a happy person. I mean, she's just fundamentally happy.
Good.
And that just to see her smile and bubble, and I just tell everybody, let's not screw this up. She's basically happy. It's
Yeah.
just let's not mess
Yeah.
with her.
And I just, with mine, I mean, he's getting to be coming up on 40 pounds or so. So I know eventually I'm not going to be able to pick him up, which will be
Yeah,
sad for me because I just can't hold him and kiss on him enough. It's just so much fun. Just I'll every now and then, like Oliver, my cheek is missing something, and he knows to lean over and give me a kiss.
oh man,
Yeah. Yep.
we're
So,
getting there.
yep.
she's pulling herself up. She's just
Oh,
a
yeah.
full person. Suddenly she had legs a few months ago. You realized, you know, then they're close. So Eric has been, it's got probably the same cold I have. I got recently, and both of their cars are down. One needs a screw, and the other one has a flat tire.
No.
And anyway, I ran over with the COVID test because that's, you get a cold, you want to know,
Yep.
And so it's just so nice that they're that close. I had traveled, so I took the test, and then I got the cold, so I took a test, so I had a test for them. It's just nice to have them so close,
Yeah.
and that they wanted to be close and part of our lives.
Yep.
And then we have the daughter who's a trader and went out to dinner.
Very nice. And going back
Yep.
to the wedding, one of the things I've learned of the the in-laws, the most irrelevant person of the four at a wedding is the father of the groom. Nothing for me to say or do. I stroke a check, and I don't get to make a speech. I don't get to do anything, and I'm okay with that.
That's funny.
Because
Yeah.
and our oldest son, who's the father of my grandson, he and our daughter-in-law have been married, I think they're coming up on 6 years. And I'm totally comfortable with an open microphone, so that doesn't really bother me whether they tell me what I'm talking
I
about
can
or
tell.
not. Yeah. And so my wife and my son agreed that she would welcome everybody and thank everybody. I'd have done a good job. It just would have gone a little bit longer with a couple of jokes, but
Oh, I get it.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Not enough time for dad.
yep. Father to the groom,
He's got
most irrelevant spot, but you know what? I was good with it. It was a lot of fun at the wedding. So,
Well, I would have made room for you. Everybody
yep.
deserves a moment.
So I can assume that your granddaughter will have a financial plan set up long before she's the age of 3 and understanding numbers and counting and everything from you, right?
Yeah. Plus, they were wise, and they at this young age they have financial advisors. So
Good.
I totally support that. That's very smart.
And you will teach her the understanding of a dollar, and when you do a chore around the house and you get paid $2, a dollar for play, a dollar for saving.
That's right. Yeah, that was our model. And both of my daughters worked a little bit throughout high school and,
Yep.
and college. And all that really prepares them for the real world. No doubt
Oh,
about it.
Yep. It does. It does. Well,
Yeah.
folks, if you need some help with your finances, no matter how big your company is, we put Andrew's phone number up on the screen during the show. Please reach out to him. Even if you have a question, he'll help you. If you need to go to somebody else or don't need anybody right
Yep.
now, he'll send you that way and he'll be honest with you. But it always helps to have another set of eyes and another set of ears, at least take a peek at what you're trying to do, because it doesn't hurt, especially with his years of experience. Andrew, we've enjoyed it very much and hope for a happy and healthy 2022 for your business, your kids, your wife, but especially your granddaughter.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mike. And thank you. You're a wonderful host. Made me very comfortable. And happy holidays to you and yours as well.
Thank you much, and we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.